I've made the preservation of American democracy the central issue of my presidency. I believe in free and fair elections and the right to vote fairly and have your vote counted. There's something dangerous happening in America. There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. All of us are being asked right now, what will we do to maintain our democracy? History's watching. The world is watching. And most important, our children and grandchildren will hold us responsible.
If Biden wins, China will own America. He's going to own it. First of all, they pay him a fortune, so you know why wouldn't he? Works for China, basically. He works for China.
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
Maxwell, his longtime friend and associate, who is now serving 20 years in prison for crimes that she committed with him.
Her friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well.
I want to talk about the truth coming out about Donald Trump.
Not releasing tax returns because, as you know, they're under audit.
But every president since the 70s has had a required audit from the IRS. The last 6 have released them. But as president, sir,
you know, the only one that cares about my tax returns are the reporters. Okay,
you don't think the American public is concerned about
that? No, I don't think so. I won.
Do you believe that?
I became president. No, I don't think they care at all.
If somebody came into one of our hotels when my father was president and they were from a foreign country, a government official from a foreign country, and we found out about it, you know what we do? We donate all the money for that, that margarita that they bought at the bar, donate it back to the United States Treasury.
The only family in probably United States history that didn't enrich themselves when they went into government is the Trump family.
I've been accused of being a Christian nationalist. By covenant, this nation belongs to God. Therefore, voting is a sacred trust. And if you don't vote, hush.
The problem are the pastors that refuse to talk about politics and putting Christians in a place to be able to move government and the laws of the land and implement the laws of God.
Alleges it was Trump's businesses receiving Chinese money while Trump was in office. So interesting. According to the report of the nearly $8 million paid to Trump's businesses from foreign countries between 2017 and 2019, $5.5 million came from China.
So who are the criminals? Well, obviously, sincere Christians. They're the real problems. Sincere Christians in the middle class, boy, they're dangerous. And the FBI, it's hard to believe this, doubtless there are decent FBI agents, but the FBI as an organization has joined in the hunt for Christians. But the FBI has decided if you're too sincere about Catholicism, you're a criminal.
Eventbrite cancels the ticket sales and considers it harmful misinformation. What was your reaction when you saw this email?
I was really happy. It means you're over the target. I mean, they're so afraid of a Christian filmmaker coming down to speak to some really cool Jewish chicks to talk about the truth, what happened on January 6th.
Now, we all knew he was a criminal, but now it's actually documented just some of the money that he took.
And Donald Trump has fulfilled the worst fears and nightmares of the founders. The $7.8 million that we were able to document in receipts from foreign nations, China and Saudi Arabia being the two leading countries, are just scratched the surface of what is certainly much broader money coming in, because it was only for a 2-year period out of his 4-year presidency. It related only to 4 of Trump's more than 500 businesses. We were able to get the receipts for the Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, the Trump International Tower, UN Plaza in D.C., the Trump International Hotel, and in Las Vegas, the Trump International Hotel. But most of them we still don't have. And we also were only able to look at 20 countries out of 195 on Earth. So this is likely to be just a fraction of what he took. But still, the founders of our country would be absolutely scandalized, as would be every other president we've ever had in American history. The report talks about, in one part I write about Abraham Lincoln, who received 2 elephant tusks that he really liked from Siam. And during the Civil War, he sent them to Congress saying, can I keep these? He did what was constitutionally necessary, which is to go to Congress if you're going to keep any kind of payment at all, any kind of gift at all from a foreign government. And Congress actually said, no, you've got to turn those over to the Department of the Interior, which he promptly did.
God gave us this nation. He gave us liberty, and he gave us the obligation to keep the republic.
Now, we as Christian missionaries need to be invading the school boards
that's right.
to take back that ground. We need to be invading public education for those kids that are trapped in it. We need Christian teachers that aren't afraid to stand up for truth and aren't afraid to lose their job if need be.
Now, whether it be from Saudi Arabia or from China, it doesn't really matter to Trump as long as he gets paid. And you can bet your ass he did.
Donald Trump has obviously been the reverse. It was a money-making operation from the beginning, and we're just starting to find the millions and millions of dollars that he collected from government. So I just anticipate one objection, because I know the Trump family's out there saying, well, he didn't take his salary of $400,000 a year. That's all you're allowed to take. The framers set up a system, and it's in the Constitution, that the only thing that the president can take is his salary from Americans. So you're not being bankrolled by Saudi monarchs and by Chinese communist bureaucrats.
President Trump, without a shadow of a doubt, is under demonic attack like never before. I say this all the time, that Satan only attacks whom he fears the most. Satan only goes after anyone who God has chosen to promote and to advance. And the hand of God is upon Donald J. Trump like never before.
And it makes me wonder, what did he get paid to get rid of Jeffrey Epstein? Or should I say, what was it worth to him to get rid of Jeffrey Epstein?
Highly unusual plea agreement allowed billionaire hedge fund manager Jeffrey Epstein to spend a mere 13 months in county jail, when the federal government may have had enough evidence to put him in prison for life. This, according to police and prosecution documents obtained by NBC News. And tonight, there's a new focus on the prosecutor who helped arrange that deal a decade ago. Now the Secretary of Labor.
It's really a Christian revival in so many ways. And that's what I want to see. I want to see the church in America come to life and save this country.
I believe if that type and shadow is true for the New Testament, the church, God's people, will be out in such a great force that Satan himself will call for the second coming of Jesus. He would say, I cannot do a thing in this earth with your people here. You come and get them.
I'm a really big supporter of the Christian nationalist movement. I support Christians. I'm going to fight for Christians. I'm going to fight for white people. I'm going to fight for nationalist movements. I'm going to fight against the anti-white racism that is being, perpetuated. Even though I am Jewish, I'm still going to fight for Christian nationalists. And I find that most of my friends and most of my allies and most of the people who I associate these days with are Christian nationalists.
Remember this? The number one example of the elite lack of accountability for this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, is the fact that a U.S. attorney hammered out this plea deal that was just unheard of, that just basically let him get away with it and then go back to reoffending. The guy that gave him that deal, Donald Trump appointed him, Alex Acosta, in his cabinet. The guy who gave the Epstein deal. He got a cabinet position because he was appointed by Donald Trump. And it was a big scandal at the time. Acosta ultimately resigned in 2019 amid renewed interest in the Epstein case, although he defended the plea deal until the end. A lengthy investigation from Trump's Department of Justice ultimately found that Acosta exhibited poor judgment, although it cleared him of any official misconduct. Now, around the time that Epstein was negotiating that deal, the one that basically allowed him to more or less get away scot-free and go back to reoffending, he was represented by a number of high-profile attorneys, including former counsel O.J. Simpson, Alan Dershowitz, and former Bill Clinton investigator Ken Starr. You may remember those two men for a different reason. Back in 2020, Donald Trump brought both of them on to assist his legal defense during his first impeachment trial. Get me the Epstein defense team.
Yeah, and as you said, from Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 of the Constitution forbids the president to accept money payments or gifts of any kind whatever from foreign governments. So what's the consequence?
Well, here's the problem. They've sandbagged us for 7 years. This report is the culmination of 7 years' effort that began with my late beloved colleague, Elijah Cummings, who recognized the danger immediately when Donald Trump refused to divest himself of the businesses that he had when he came into office. And he knew it would be a problem. We had to go all the way to the Supreme Court. In the Mazars litigation, we finally got information in September of 2022. But the moment that Chairman Comer became chairman of the Oversight Committee, he told Trump's lawyers to tell Mazars, don't worry about it. You don't have to turn over any more information to the committee, which is why we just have this snapshot.
Because it is true. Bill Clinton was on that plane. He used the plane several times to fly to humanitarian causes around the world. Donald Trump was on the plane for several times, not necessarily for humanitarian causes.
Jeffrey Epstein famously died in federal custody in a federal detention center here in New York City. That was the incident. It sparked countless Epstein didn't kill himself memes that went everywhere in the conspiratorial part of the internet.
This whole ordeal with Donald Trump, it's a never-ending cycle of bullshit. And it's never going to stop. It's going to be the same old thing all over again.
Strict kind of religion growing up until about college. And I would talk about how if you leave that religion, you feel isolated. They isolate you. Well, that's what a cult does. That's what the GOP is doing now. So yes, I think the vast majority of these people don't believe that we destroyed the evidence, but they're going to spread it because that is a tattoo of your tribal identity. And the worst thing that can happen right now is that you get kicked out of your tribe. Massive failure from the pulpit of the church as well. These evangelicals that are being told by their ministers that somehow Jesus gives a rat's behind on what our tax rates are or wokeism or anything like that. He doesn't, he didn't, and they are being misled from the pulpit.
Bill Barr called Epstein's death a perfect storm of screw-ups, sort of a passive way to describe a debacle that happened under your authority. So Donald Trump's Justice Department was overseeing Jeffrey Epstein when he died in prison. Of course, the real link here is the personal relationship between Donald Trump and Epstein himself, the one you see on your screen right now. Trump has denied any connection to Epstein's crimes. He declined to comment to NBC News about these new documents, but it's undeniable, it's just an established fact, the two men were once friendly. Back in 1992, before Epstein's first arrest, the two men were captured on video, partying at Trump's Mar-a-Lago golf home, and, crucially, leering at women together. 1 decade later, Trump went on the record with New York Magazine to praise Epstein in these words, and I will quote them. "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life."
I'm here to declare war on every demonic, demon-possessed Democrat that comes from the gates of hell.
I do believe the people that are waging this war against President Trump really are evil to the core. These are not people that have what they believe is their best intention. So I think we actually have Satan at play here. We are being attacked by Satan, and Satan has taken over in many respects these people.
Well, I want to believe the best of my colleagues, and I thought, although they have a partisan lens on, they were really interested in the question of public corruption and people selling out the American public interest to foreign governments, all to line their own pockets. And here we have documented receipts of that taking place during the Trump administration, and they simply turn a blind eye to it. And, they're saying absolutely ridiculous stuff like, well, he didn't take his salary in office, or, well, they when this was first raised, they gave some of the, quote, profits back to the U.S. Treasury. The Constitution doesn't say you can't keep the profits from foreign governments. It says you can't take any payments at all of any kind, whatever, from foreign governments. And if you think that you want to keep 90 or 95% of it and give a couple $100,000 back, go to Congress and ask Congress if that plan is okay, like President Lincoln did, or like President Kennedy did when he was given Irish citizenship. That wasn't even money, but even then he said he would have to decline it out of deference, not to the letter, but to the spirit of the Foreign Emoluments Clause.
You weren't ever on Jeffrey Epstein's jet, were you?
I was on Jeffrey Epstein's jet 2 times. I was on it in 1993, and I was on it and I went to Florida with my wife and 2 children to visit my mom over Easter. My wife had some kind of relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, and they offered us a ride to Palm Beach. So I went then, and then on another occasion, I flew again with my family, with I think 4 of my children, and Mary, my wife, to Rapid City, South Dakota, to go fossil hunting.
The U.S. Supreme Court has just put down their orders.
What? Wait, what? Oh, the Supreme Court. Oh, my goodness. Well, I guess we got that going for us now, too. Or should I say, I wonder what that's worth to Donald Trump. Because, boy, he's ready to buy. And from what it looks like, those boys might be selling. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy.
Barack Obama gave $1.3 million from a Nobel Peace Prize back to a Swedish government-related entity. He didn't have to, but again, he said out of a superabundance of caution towards the Emoluments Clause, he would. And here we have Trump just pocketing millions of dollars directly from some of the most corrupt regimes on earth, because what we're talking about is the national security. If you read our report, you will look at places where the money coming in from these foreign governments definitely influenced what Donald Trump was doing with respect to China and some of the corruption taking place there with respect to Saudi Arabia. Remember, he helped cover up the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, the Washington Post journalist who was assassinated. All of these things taking place with people who are putting money into Donald Trump's pockets.